Hey, it's James Robbins here, and in this video, I'm going to show you a really simple way to coach your employees that doesn't take much time at all, and yet it's incredibly effective and is going to help them grow. All right, so let me jump over to my screen here, and I'm going to walk you through this. So when it comes to helping somebody grow, an employee, honestly, the first thing that's most important than anything is first just clarity. It's clarity for both you and for them that there is a gap somewhere, right? There's some gap in their knowledge and their skill. And so that's what we're doing, is we're identifying what is this gap for them. And this could be, let's say they're a young supervisor and they've just been promoted to be a supervisor, and now they have to start learning leadership, right? And so that's a big gap for them that we want to help them close. So we might see it, so we have to make sure that we're really clear. And whenever I'm doing workshops in a company, one of the things I'll do with the managers is I'll ask them to think about each of their direct reports and say, and answer this one simple question: what's going to make them more effective? Your staff right now, each one of them, what's going to make them more effective in their role? You should have an answer for that, right? And so you should have several answers for that. Oh, they got to become a better leader, and even that's a broad topic. You know, what of that do they need to grow in? And so we want to make sure that we probably have a list of things for each of our staff that they need to grow in. Now, we're not going to overwhelm them and give them everything at once, but let's just start with one. Of course, we need to see it. They need to see it. They've got to be on board with that. But sticking with our example, let's say that we're having a young supervisor, and they just need to generally grow as a leader. They don't have much leadership skills, and so we understand, like, okay, this is a pretty broad topic, but they just need to grow as a leader. So they get that. They want to learn. You want to help them. Now, number two is this is a really cool part, is we don't have to do all the coaching and educating and training. We just have to help them find the resources that they can use. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look for resources. Well, actually, we are going to brainstorm together. We're going to sit down with that supervisor. We're going to say, hey, so let's talk about some things that you think you could do to help you grow here. And again, one of the reasons we're asking them that question is because we want them to take ownership of their own development. In other words, it's not just our job to say, well, here's what you're going to do. We want them to be thinking. We want to turn them into students. And so you're going to brainstorm together, and they might think, well, I could take a course on leadership. I could read a book on leadership. I could get a mentor. I could shadow somebody. So you come up with this list, and then what you're going to do is you're going to just find one thing from this list, at least to start with. And so let's say we decide, like, hey, we're gonna there's a great book on leadership. Maybe it's a real basic one to get people started, like maybe the 21 Laws of Leadership from John Maxwell, or maybe my book, 9 Minutes on Monday. Something that's going to get them going. And so the idea there is you're going to say, okay, great, let's go ahead and get that. And then simply what you're going to do is you're, in a sense, you're going to follow up. And what that might look like is you get them the book, and then you might say, hey, I noticed there's 21 chapters here. How would you feel about reading the first 3 chapters in the next week? And then let's have a discussion about this next week when we have our one-on-one. And because I'd like to know what you're learning. And so what happens now is you're going to send the employee away. They're going to go read this book. They're going to be taking notes. They're going to be coming up with, and they're going to be thinking about how this applies in their situation. You don't even need to read the book. I mean, it's great if you do, but you don't need to, because then when you meet with them for your one-on-one, you're going to be asking them, okay, so what'd you learn? And now you're going to be able to coach, but you're coaching something that's already moving. In other words, that you're not having to do all the work here. And so now you're finding out, hey, what did you learn from that? How do you see that fitting in here? You're going to be able to add in your own 2 cents, your own, they might have learned something that you can say, well, yeah, that's true, but that actually doesn't quite fit in our culture here. So let's talk about that. And so all the while, what's happening is they go through this process is they are growing, right? They're growing, they're developing. And in fact, that's one of the things that employees say helps them be more engaged, when they feel like they're being invested in, when they're growing. But the other beautiful thing, this really doesn't take you a lot of time. You had to have this conversation, right? right here. You had to have that conversation. You had to have this conversation to figure out the resources. And then this is just easy peasy in your one-on-ones. You're going to take a few minutes out of that time and follow up. What are you learning? What are you going to put into practice? And by doing that, you are helping them grow. And here's the thing. The need to grow and develop is actually just one of the 9 engagement drivers that are the proven things that get employees to be more engaged, more motivated, and more productive. And if you would like to learn more about how to help your employees grow, plus the other 8 engagement drivers and how you can tap in and leverage those to increase the motivation and productivity of your staff, then I've made you a free training that walks you through all 9 drivers. Now you can find that training right below this video in the notes section. There's a link there. If you're still seeing this video, it's because that training is still available. There's no charge for that. Click on the link, go ahead and register, and you'll be able to access that training right away. Because when you start putting these 9 engagement drivers into practice, you will be amazed at what that does to the morale and the motivation of your people. So that link is right in the description below.